Final hour for the week. Overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel. Bryan Hayes, Frankie, Corrado, now up on TSN 2. We got Bob Weeks joining us later this hour. Get to our best bets. Brought to you by FanDuel. We'll revisit our chat with Chris Bassitt here in a few moments. Jays Rays tonight. End of the season. End of seeing Angel Hernandez have to have any impact on regular season baseball.
We'll see him next year. We'll see him next
year.
I'm sure it'll be a whole other sideshow. And it's almost like he's one of those guys. It's like, what more could he possibly mess up out there? And he never ceases to amaze me, man.
He'll find more, Frankie. You just brace for him, man. He will find another way to disappoint you. We'll track the series this weekend, obviously. You got the NFL going. You got the Leafs playing tonight and tomorrow in Montreal. You got the Raptors back in town next week. Right, you got the Argos who aren't even playing Chad Kelly. They're like, we don't even need to, man. We're cruising.
They're locked in. They're dialed
they're the best
man.
team in the Canadian Football League.
Which
I
is
think
also
they might
different
win without them.
And that's different for the Argos because in years past when they've won the Grey Cup, they're almost like that team that no one was expecting to get there. Last year, everyone was taking the Bombers. It was like the Argos were just playing a game basically.
That's right.
They shocked everyone and they won.
Yeah, and Bombers have dominated the CFL for years, right? But you're right. Even the Ricky Ray years, there were some 500 teams in there, and the East had been so weak and so watered down for so long, where it was, the West had just been dominating the Canadian Football League, and someone had to come out of the East, and it almost felt by default. And yet the Argos, once they got to the Grey Cup, they take care of business. But it's not the case this year. Like they're not backdooring into anything. They are clearly the best team in the CFL, and it's not particularly close. We'll see what they've got in store this weekend. But I think it is going to be about the Jays. That'll be the story of the weekend when they get to party, celebrate, if they get to party, celebrate. Last night was a big win and just alleviates a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. But Seattle came back late last night, right, to keep their dream alive. So Seattle's alive. Houston's alive. Texas is alive. Houston's back in action tonight. They're in Arizona for their final 3 games.
It's going to be like that, but one of the things that's encouraging, Hazy, about this Jays team is they're okay with like the scratching and clawing kind of thing because they've had to do it all season long. You know what I mean? Like they dropped that series against Texas and people are down on them and they scratch and claw their way back. And remember, Seattle was winning all those games and people were losing their minds, myself included, saying this team's not going to make the playoffs. They're going to blow it. They're choke artists. Meanwhile, it's like they've just seemed to scratch and claw all season long. And now the destiny is in their hands. Win your games and you're in.
That's exactly right. And it starts tonight again with the Rays in town. And we had the chance to catch up with Chris Bassitt earlier, who pitched a gem last night, 7 2/3, finishes his regular season, unless we see him this weekend, which we don't expect to. He certainly won't start this weekend. 16-8, I believe, 3.60 ERA, 200 innings pitched. You had a cool stat earlier about him and Roger Clemens, the only guys to throw 200 innings and win 16 games in a season. As Blue Jays, which is pretty incredible because like Halladay would have thrown 200 plus, Steve would have thrown 200 plus.
So it was Halladay. It was Halladay with the 16 wins and 200 innings. It was Roger Clemens. It was I think 6 scoreless games or something like that in the season. So listen, regardless, like he's in great company with both of those stats.
Yes, if you are in any statistical category with Roger Clemens in his 2 seasons in Toronto where he won back-to-back Cy Youngs, you're doing some serious damage on the mound.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if you're included with anything with Halladay, anything with Steve, I mean, those are the big 3. There have been great pitchers throughout Blue Jay history, but Steve and Halladay have a special place because they were so long-standing. Yeah. But those two years by Clemens were gross. Like statistically, no one's come close to what that cat was doing up here, man. It was crazy how good he was.
Just laying beatdowns.
It was crazy. Every 5th day, he was an absolute monster. But Bassett's just had a great debut season in Toronto. That's what it was, right? This front office invested heavily in the starting rotation, and it paid off this year. They gave money to Gausman. They gave money to Barrios. They gave money to Ryu, Kikuchi, Bassitt. And they've all worked for them.
And they've picked their spots too. Hey, like remember with Robbie Ray, it was like, it's going to be a little too rich for us, and we're going to move on. And they go get Gausman for just a smidge lower, but like they've handed out the money, but they've picked their spots. They didn't just throw money around. The only one you could possibly say that for was Barrios at the time because it was such a lucrative contract and it didn't look great last year. But credit to him because he's turned it around in a big way, like you mentioned, especially at the Dome. He's been exceptional this year. So, listen, man, the rotation's been great. Bullpen's been great. Not a lot of complaints on the defensive side of the ball.
No, you're right. And the Barrios conversation is a good one because I believe this was year one of the 7-year extension. So he'll have 6 more after this. If he pitches like this for 6 more years, he's worth every penny.
Yeah.
Every single penny. It's the beauty of sports, and the downfall of sports is it's fickle, it can turn, it can change. Like Manoah is going to be the classic example of that. If Alek Manoah can return to the mountaintop in Toronto, which it seems like he's not just at the bottom of the mountain. This guy's digging deeper into the ground, right? Like he's deep into the valley.
Dude, that's weird. That's going to be something that comes up, I don't know, in the new year. Once we're starting to gear up for maybe spring training, it's like, what's been going on with Manoah? How was the winter? What did he do? I think things might start to trickle out as we get closer to next year's spring training about what this season entailed for him.
I think you're right, but I think, he is actually lucky that his counterparts on the rotation have carried things without him, because I think it would be even more of a frustrating conversation, possibly a darker, more riled up conversation among the fan base if this rotation was struggling and he was supposed to be the kingpin. Yeah. Without him, they haven't missed a beat. I said earlier, as a 5-man rotation, you can make the argument this is the best statistical season this team's ever had. I'm sure we could find other examples over the course of their history, but from Gausman to Barrios to Kikuchi to Bassitt, and really Ryu ever since he returned.
Yeah.
Their numbers are phenomenal. They're throwing all the time, and they're staying healthy.
If Manoah had to get a gift basket for one of those guys in the rotation for saving his ass all year, who would be that guy? I know my answer.
I guess I'll say, you know what? I'm going to say Gausman because that's who he was competing with at the top of the rotation, right? Okay. Like the horse, the ace. If Gausman had a down year, and that means you lost your 1A and your 1B, but the fact that Gausman had such a great year and allowed, I think, Jays fans to realize there's an anchor still in this rotation, I'd be giving the gift basket to Kevin Gausman.
If I'm Manoah and I got to get a gift basket, I'm putting some PJs, maybe a little sleep mask, some earplugs, and I'm sending it right to Yusei Kikuchi because if this guy was going out every 5th day and burying balls in the dirt time after time, like he did last year, the conversation would be, we don't even need to have this guy in the rotation if Manoah is pitching well. But look, now we got to have him because we need an extra body. Yusei Kikuchi, he solved a lot of problems for the Jays rotation.
He sure did. And I think, again, Barrios can be a part of that conversation, too. Maybe a shared gift basket, right? You get Barrios, you get Kikuchi, lefty, righty. I think they both can put their hands up. Let's face it, Chris Bassitt's right there, too. Chris Bassitt's given this team 200 innings pitched, which alleviates the pressure on the bullpen. And he's just had a great debut season. And we caught up with Chris earlier this afternoon, and we began by asking him, how cool is it to finally hit that milestone, 200 innings pitched in a season?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Obviously, in today's day and age, it's pretty rare. So to be able to do that for my team, it means the world to me. So
when you consider, what you were looking at last night, you had to get to 7 2/3. Again, you hit that on the nose, and then Schneider comes out. You get the standing ovation. People are jacked for you. At what point in the game did you realize, okay, I have enough in the tank here. Things are moving in this direction. It's your last start of the season. I got to get to 7 2/3. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I knew the number I needed to start the game. But at the same time, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think I was going to get there. I thought I was going to get to somewhere around 198, 199, just because I knew I wasn't going to be pushed over over 100 pitches that much, just because obviously we have a lot bigger goals, and I was perfectly okay with that. But once the pitch count kind of showed, in the 5th or 6th, that I was still pretty low, I was like, dang, I got a shot at this as long as I don't mess it up. So obviously they gave me a good amount of runs, so I was able to throw a lot of pitches that kind of got some weak contact and quick outs, and luckily everything fell in place. Was it basically a perfect situation, though, that you didn't finish the inning you didn't have to, and you got to walk off and tip the cap last night?
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. I mean, not just that, but obviously doing it in front of the home fans and stuff like that. I mean, I couldn't have wrote a better script for it.
Chris, what's life like on the Blue Jays rotation? You know, night after night, you guys are going out, getting the job done, whether it's Gausman, yourself, Barrios has had a big bounce-back year. Kikuchi's getting his 13 hours of sleep a night, and he's going out there and he's pitching gems. Like, what's life like for you guys as a rotation?
Yeah, it's so fun. The amount of fun that we have behind the scenes is pretty unmatched. I've been really, really blessed. I don't know why, but I've been blessed to have a lot of really good starters in my whole entire career. And this year is obviously, I think, one of the best ones ever. To have 5 guys with an ERA under 4. Obviously, every one of them are all-stars or former all-stars. I mean, it's not hard. It's not hard to have fun and have fun the right way and push each other in the right direction and give each other crap when we need to. It's been an absolute blessing.
We're chatting with Chris Bassitt. You mentioned how fun it is to be a part of such a dynamite rotation, but how inspiring can it be as well when you watch Gausman pitch a gem and then Barrios, as Frankie said? Like, is there any nerves when you step up on the mound because you're thinking, I got to roll this over because, you know, the previous 2-3 guys have been rock stars?
Honestly, I think it's the exact opposite. I think there isn't any pressure on us just because we know, like, all right, if I have a bad game for whatever reason, it's not gonna go on to tomorrow. So we have a perfect group that's able to not only have a quality start hopefully every single time they go out there, but I mean, if you have one bad start, so be it. We expect great things out of you the next start. So there's not really pressure of like 1 or 2 guys to really carry the load when you have 5 guys that can.
Well, your team hasn't been shy to be vocal with the fans about getting to the ballpark and making some noise and getting behind this team. Like, how has your first year in Toronto felt playing at the Rogers Centre? You know, it's been a hitter's park mostly in the past. Like, how have you felt like you got adjusted here as the season's gone on?
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. Obviously, I still feel like I'm still adjusting to being in Toronto, to be completely honest, just because I feel like the first couple months are basically trying to learn all the names within the organization before I feel super comfortable with everything else. And I've unfortunately now been on 3 teams in the last 3 years, so I can't wait, honestly, till next year. Obviously, hopefully this year ends very special for us, but I can't wait for next year where I walk in, I know everybody, and then I can really enjoy the fans and enjoy restaurants and all that good stuff around the city that we really want to do.
Well, now that you've hit 200 innings pitched this season, a career high, your statistics are off the chart. As you said, you guys still have a lot of baseball left. That's the plan here. But does that set the bar now? Like, do you show up in the spring thinking, I got to hit 210, 215 and lower my ERA or what?
I hope. Yeah. I mean, my goal every year for my whole entire career, obviously this is the first year that I've been able to do it, but every year I want to make every single start and I want to get to 200 innings. I think that's kind of what my strength is I can eat a lot of innings and then I can be durable. Obviously Barrios and the run that he's had, starting games is just, it's something that I admire. It's something that I've told him so many times how much I love what he does. I love how hard he works and what he does to get ready. And then obviously, I mean, Gausman's just an absolute freak. And then you have Kikuchi and obviously Hyun-Jin Ryu, who, I mean, he's got like 4 million innings somehow. But, yeah, I mean, our rotation, it's so easy to root for, so easy to have fun with and work with.
So you're 16-8 on the season, a 3.60 ERA, 200 innings. So I think it's all good that I bring this up. Earlier this year, how much did you hate PitchCom? How much did you want to fight PitchCom?
I didn't hate it in the aspect of like kind of getting rid of signs and worrying about sign stealing and all that stuff. So I thought that was nice, but yeah, I mean, I definitely wish I had more time to get acclimated to it earlier in the year. Like, sure, we had it in spring training, but I mean, spring training, I don't know, I threw 10 innings or something like that. I honestly don't even know how many innings I threw, but I think the league has done a great job. When I say the league, I mean the players have done a great job to just basically take another change that MLB threw at us and rolled with it. And I think everyone's done really well with it. I like what MLB did. I like what the players did.
Well, I mean, there was so much discussion on the pitch clock, right, leading into the season, and the statistics are right there in front of us. It's been a resounding success. I mean, it's amazing how much clock has been taken off in terms of per game. Obviously, it did not affect you, but was that another one of those things you're referencing that kind of baseball threw it at you? And as a veteran, it probably took you a while to adjust.
Yeah, I think that's the issue that I've had privately with Mr. Manfred and obviously MLB. Was just like, okay, I feel like a lot of the things that we have done within the sport, obviously with COVID and stuff like that, I'll give everyone a pass with that. But I feel like within the last 4 or 5 years, we've had so many, whether it be rule changes or different things that we've been doing, that I just keep on preaching, like, man, we just need consistency. Like next year, let's have no more different rules. Let's just go into next year and say this was a great success of what we did in 2023. We're doing the exact same thing in 2024. Now we may alter a couple things, but it's to help the players, not to change completely like the thought process and the timing of everything. I just think we need some stability when it comes to like a routine within our sport, and I think we are going to do that with talking with Mr. Manfred and the MLB. But yeah, I think that's the one caveat to all of it is I just think we need some I would say calmness when it comes to all these things.
Sure. And, you mentioned consistency a few times in this conversation in terms of coming here to a new team. You've been on a few different teams in the last few years, and that means a new battery. You're going to be dealing with a different guy behind the plate, and you've thrown to different catchers this year, but your statistics with Alejandro Kirk behind the plate, off the charts. His framing ability is obviously well known, but how big of an impact has he had on your season, and how much of an impact could he have on your future, knowing that he's likely here next year as well, and you guys can hopefully just keep rocking?
Yeah, extreme impact on me. I think he's. I mean, I've been blessed with some unbelievable catchers with Sean Murphy and obviously James McCann last year. But I mean, Kirky's framing metrics are just off the charts, and what he's able to do, especially with low pitches, it's pretty hard to match what he's able to do. And me being a sinker ball guy that likes to throw balls at the bottom of the zone or sometimes the top of the zone, him being able to basically make all those pitches look good for an umpire is obviously huge for me.
Chris, it's such a long season in baseball. I know from hockey and my background there, in an 82-game season, you lose a few games in a row, the dressing room, it can feel like a morgue at times. It seems like for this group in Toronto, you guys, there might be some noise outside in the media. Why aren't they winning? Why are they slumping? Why aren't things going their way? But it seems like you guys seem to weather the storm every single time. Like, how much of that chatter goes on in the clubhouse, or do you guys not even pay attention to that and just, it's baseball and we have a game the next day and we keep rolling?
Yeah, I think the general public and obviously media and stuff like that will look at all the negative things just for whatever, that's the way the world works kind of thing. But I've said this multiple times that pitching and defense is what we do. And obviously hitting, we have unbelievable hitters that can obviously put a lot of runs up on the board, but pitching and defense are our cornerstones. And I think we've been very calm throughout, say, a couple losing streaks just because we have faith that our pitching and defense is going to be there when we need it. So, yeah, I think the reason that we've been able to so-called weather the storm is just because, yeah, we may have lost a game, like 2-0 or 3-0, whatever it may be, but we look back and our pitching and defense was there. So it's just, as long as those things are there, we're going to be just fine. And I think everyone kind of knows that. That's the general feeling in the clubhouse.
So take us inside the clubhouse, leading into this weekend where you guys are in the driver's seat. You can be as high as the second wild card, maybe the third. There still are some avenues where obviously you can be on the outside looking in. But destiny is in the hands of the Blue Jays here, like it has been for the better part of a couple of weeks. What's the vibe like going into a big series with Tampa in town tonight?
Yeah, just have fun. I think just don't make the moment any bigger than it needs to be. Like, we're still just playing a game. Obviously, these games mean a lot to a lot of people, including us. But just have fun. Like, I think when you're in big moments and you can have fun and enjoy the moment, enjoy sold out crowds and how excited everyone is, I think the only better we can play. So again, I think it's like the veteran guys are just preaching like, hey, like, let's just go have fun, and whatever happens, happens. Let's keep playing. I said, I'm not trying to say it again, but just keep playing good defense and just keep pitching, and we'll be just fine.
Does the clubhouse change at all, like on a weekend like this? In other words, are the other scoreboards up? Are the standings up? Does John Schneider just wipe everything out and say, guys, if you win ball games, that's all that matters? Or do you allow yourself to check in on Seattle and Texas and Houston?
No, yeah, we don't have any of that on in our clubhouse. We're not worried about anyone but ourselves. Honestly, we usually we have a couple movies playing in our clubhouse, especially in the training room and stuff like that, where a lot of guys are hanging out and getting ready for the game. We got whatever movie you kind of want on in there, and we're just relaxed and having fun and not worrying about anyone but ourselves.
Knowing you won't be pitching this weekend, what do you think your role will be up on the top step? And are you helping the arms, the batters? Are you just relaxing, preparing for the playoffs? Like, what is Chris Bassitt doing this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously are in a position where we can wrap this thing up before the last game. But I don't want to like eliminate myself. I got to prepare. In my head, I got to prepare that I am going to be available to pitch the last game of the year if we need it. And that's my thought process right now. Is okay, like, I'm not thinking, all right, like a playoff game. I'm thinking, what is it going to take my body to get ready for that last game of the year? If, say, we need an inning or 2 innings, whatever it may be, that's my thought process right now with trainers and strength staff and all that. Like, right now is just, how can I get ready in 3 days?
Well, it's going to be a really fun weekend, and we congratulate you, Chris. An incredible regular season so far. Like you said, possibly not over, but I think at a minimum we're going to see you, in a few days beyond Sunday, and hit 200 innings. That's an incredible achievement. So congrats on that, and good luck this weekend. Really appreciate you finding time for us.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
There he is, Chris Bassitt, Mr. 200. Right,
oh, yeah.
Mr. 200 doing his thing, and both you and I, Frankie, we've got him penciled in, if not game 2, game 3, wild card.
No-brainer.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, Gausman's going, unless Gausman's got a pitch on Sunday, which if you have to do it, you have to do it. Like, if it's a must-win situation, that's who you want on the mound.
Yeah.
But ideally, the Jays get something done tonight, if not tomorrow. Take it easy on Sunday, completely reset. You know who you're playing. You know where you're going. Set up your rotation. Gausman, I think, into Bassitt, into Barrios. Kikuchi as a swingman somewhere coming out of the bullpen, and you go from there.
And then you got that bullpen, man. That bullpen is rocking. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. Like, these guys spend a lot of time in that clubhouse every single day. How many movies are these guys watching, and what movies are they possibly watching every day? Like, how big is that library?
Well, I'd love to know if it's like 2 or 3 that they love and it's just on a loop, right?
Dude, that you can't watch like The Hangover or
but
Step
no one's
Brothers.
sitting there watching the whole movie. What I mean? You're not sitting there with popcorn watching 2 hours settling in before first pitch. Like, you're in and out of the room. Maybe the volume's not even on. If it is, it's probably low. I got to think music's going. Guys are doing different things at different times.
Card games. These guys are doing all kinds. There's card games going on. I mean,
for sure.
I don't know, man. I don't know how big that libraries would be.
I don't think it has to be too crazy. I don't. I think you're looking at a pretty steady rotation of, like, a popular actor, a popular theme. Is it comedy?
Yeah.
Is it drama? Is it crime?
We never had that. Like, no teams I ever played on ever had that where there was movies on. Like, I think sometimes guys would flip the station and see if maybe, TV show is on during the middle of the day. Price is Right. was always on in the
That always
dressing room.
that always will land, right? Everyone,
And
the boys will sit around
are
with that.
going at it, watching The Price is Right all the time.
For sure.
Especially on like an optional skate day, like because it starts at 11. An optional skate usually starts at 10:30, right? So if you didn't go on the ice, you're watching The Price is Right. You're hunkered down with a coffee, flip flops, and the boys are just giving it to each other.
Yeah, for sure. Daytime TV, it's very necessary. You've got to have it. All right, Bob Weeks coming up. It was morning TV, early morning TV, the Ryder Cup, where Europe is up 6.5 to 1.5 after day one. 8 points up for grabs. The Europeans took 6.5. The crowds are going nuts. The Americans are already starting to melt down. Zach Johnson, it sounds like he's conceding, basically, the way he's talking about his group. It's crazy. Bob Weeks will join us, get you a full recap of what we can expect tomorrow and into the weekend. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel, still to come as well. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel. We'll get to our best bets brought to you by FanDuel later this hour. Mail It In Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza. The best place for any family meal today and tomorrow are your last chance for the month of September. Kids eat free with minimum purchase when you dine in. So grab the kids and hustle into your local BP tonight. Bob Weeks will join us here in just a moment. I'm sure FanDuel's got an updated spread on what these numbers are going to look like, Europe versus the U.S. It was pretty close to even money going into it. I loved Europe. I've been saying that for weeks. Obviously, I feel even better about it today after they laid a beating on the States. But like Zach Johnson, you see his quote where he's, for starters, he's intimating that there's a lot of guys sick on the team. And that may be true, but how sick are they? Would you be saying that if you were up 6.5 to 1.5? We all know the answer. And I guess he said, quote, despite the scoreboard, I'm extremely proud of what they've done, end quote. What kind of
proud
quote
of what?
is that? When you get
proud
pumped?
of what? You guys got spanked in the morning and then again in the afternoon. It wasn't even close.
No.
And I know, like, Europe, they're hot. Like, shots are going in. Like, Jon Rahm's chipping in twice in one day. Like, they're playing excellent golf. And even if the States played better, which they didn't play terribly, it still would be Europe by a lot.
Yes.
But I don't know. I don't know what you're proud of. You're the one that put this team together. And he's faced a lot of criticism because of it. Because for me, anyways, it's a buddy team. And Europe went out and they just picked stone cold killers, and that's exactly what they got.
Yeah, and that's where we're at through a day. Here's Bob Weeks, our TSN Golf analyst. Can you read between the Zach Johnson lines here, Weeksy? What is he proud of that the Americans did today?
I think he's just putting up a good face for his boys because they're all going to read what he said online. So I think he's got to keep the flag, flying up front. But I'm sure he's just shocked like everybody else is. I mean, I think the European team is shocked. I think the American team is shocked. I think the fans are shocked. I certainly didn't see this coming. I thought, like you, that Europe would be out in front, but never by 5 points. And never did I think that the Americans would not win one match through the entire day. And I mean, the captain's job is thankless. If you are, like, Luke Donald is a genius right now, right? And Zach Johnson is just a goat, and everything's being second guessed at what he did, and rightly so. There are some strange choices out there, like putting Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns out first. I mean, those two guys lost both foursomes matches last year at the President's Cup, and that's not nearly. No offense to those guys, but that's not nearly as deep a field as it is here. So I don't know what analytics or where you come up with the idea that those two, not only playing foursomes, but leading off, why wouldn't you put Cantlay and Schauffele out there and supercharge things? It's easy to second guess, but I think right now there's a lot of second guessing going on, and probably by the American players.
Yeah, and there should be. And Sam Burns is one of those, controversial captain's picks, I believe, where he and Scheffler are best friends, and like Frankie's saying, buddy, you guys pick your best friend, we'll send you out there. Where, I don't think it would be different necessarily in terms of Europe leading, but what if DeChambeau's playing? What if Dustin Johnson's there instead of Sam Burns? That's probably something that will come up in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, Keegan Bradley was a guy who should have been probably out there. Lucas Glover was the hottest guy down the stretch. There's all sorts of other things, like 9 of these players have not, on the American side, have not played a tournament since the FedEx Cup finished, and you wonder if there's a little bit of rustiness going on in there. Most of the European guys are playing in some European Tour events, and strangely enough, perhaps one of the better performers was Justin Thomas for the Americans, who was basically carried the load because Jordan Spieth stunk the joint out in his afternoon. So I don't know if there's any way you can slice it and dice it, but the second guessing has already started, and I doubt it's going to stop until they hand out that trophy.
Bob, the Golf Channel had a pretty cool little graphic thing going where they were kind of outlining how this course really fits the game of the European. So they messed with some of the tee decks, they messed with some of the landing spots, and I saw one of the landing spots, they kind of put the landing areas in that 120, 115, and I guess the European players score much better from that range compared to the American players. Like, I know Europe's playing great, U.S. didn't play exceptionally well. Like, how much do the course adjustments play into this European team's favor?
It's big, and it goes both ways. It's exactly what the Americans do when it's in the States. And I had a chance to chat briefly with Rory at one of the FedEx Cup stops, and he was saying that what they were trying to do, their aim was to try and take the short irons away from the Americans. So they don't want them hitting wedges into greens because that's a little bit of their strength. So you narrow things up, you put some bunkers down in certain landing areas. I mean, the rough is really gnarly there. It's 5 inches. It was 5 inches on Monday. I don't know what it is now. It's probably 6.5 now. And if you miss a fairway, it's pretty much a penalty. Or if you can get it on the green, you're not getting it anywhere near the hole, except by luck, perhaps. So that's home field advantage. It's no different than in pretty much every other sport. But you can see it really taking effect today in both the foursomes and the four ball.
With Bob Weeks, our TSN Golf analyst, again, Europe up 6.5 points to 1.5 through day one. Day two of the Ryder Cup tomorrow, where, again, 8 points will be up for grabs. And, the history was well stated, right? Weeksy, it's been 30 years since the U.S. has won on European soil. And it's one thing that the Europeans, I think, are playing better, which they are. Victor Hovland, I think, is the best player in the world right now. McIlroy was outstanding today. Rahm was great. This Aberg kid is phenomenal, and he was great again today. But what is it about the Americans in Europe? Like, why do they fold the way that they do?
I don't know if it's the course setup, if it's the, going to a different place. Because, listen, most of these American guys don't travel that much. Mm-hmm. And the Europeans are used to playing all over the world, so there maybe is something in that. It's hard to sort of say that each one of these teams is the same. There's the same problem for every one of those teams for the last 30 years. I think there's individuals on each certain team that, they just don't gel or they don't play well when they're on the road, or the course setup. I mean, there's 100 different reasons you can look at, but it is mystifying as to why this continues the way it does. And especially after 2 years ago, 2 years ago, if you had said to me, who's going to win the next Ryder Cup, would have said the Americans are going to wash through this. Now, maybe losing some of those guys to live, the Dustin Johnsons and the DeChambos, has hurt them, but I think there's enough guys to fill in there. So I don't know what it is. I'm questioning a few things that Zach Johnson has done, and maybe it's this overall plan that they have put in place for a number of years. Maybe it needs to be revised, and maybe it needs kick out some of the old boys. Some of those captains, Freddie Couples and Jim Furyk, are great guys, but maybe they've stayed one or two times a bit too long, and maybe you bring some new players and new captains in there to freshen things up a little bit. This pod system that they've got that Paul Lazinger put in, maybe that's another one that has to change. But they're going to look at this afterwards, because now it's really starting to kind of get on their nerves. You can see it. You can see how irked these players are when they're walking off the golf course now without having won anything today.
With Bob Weeks. So Brooks Koepka took a run at Jon Rahm after his round today, or after, the completion of day one, where he said somewhat out of nowhere, quote, "I want to hit a board and pout just like Jon Rahm did, but, it is what it is. Act like a child, but we're adults. We move on," end quote. And a lot of people were uncertain of what he was talking about, and I've noticed that people have found a clip from golf.com back at the U.S. Open at LA Country Club, where Rahm is walking off the course and into the scorer's room, and he smacks like almost an advertisement board, which is wild. Board. Like, if that's what Koepka's referencing from June at the U.S. Open, how long has he been waiting to drop that bomb, Bob?
Yeah, I have no idea if that's what he was referring to, or if he was referring to the putt that hit the wall at the back on 18 and bounced up in the air and went into the hole. But yeah, I mean it's kind of weird. But I'll tell you what, that's why Koepka is somewhat effective in some of these roles, is because he does take a little dig. Now he doesn't care. He doesn't care one bit about what people think about what he says. And he's maybe hoping to stir it up a little bit and get Jon Rahm angered up a bit. I don't know, but it's a weird thing for him to. It's a weird but not unusual thing for him to do. In other words, he likes to stick the needle. He likes to kind of rile things up a little bit. He's not afraid to do that, and he knows Jon Rahm is got the short fuse sometimes. So we'll see if they ever get a chance to play again this outing. I'm not sure. Jon Rahm's playing with Tyrrell Hatton against Cantlay and Schauffele in the fourth match tomorrow morning, so it's not going to happen tomorrow. But I know he's trying. I would bet money that Koepka is just trying to stir a few things up.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm curious, how this is going to look, Bob, on European soil. Crowds are great. It's a beautiful course, beautiful weather. If this turns into a runaway, like if Europe is looking at breaking records here come Sunday, like what kind of attitude do you expect to see and hear out of the Americans, and how crazy and how rowdy do you think the Europeans are going to get?
Well, it's always fun to pile on, especially. I mean, look, everybody loves to kick the Americans' butt. That's just part of golf. That's part of sports. And I think that if it starts to get out of hand, say in the afternoon session tomorrow, if they've got an insurmountable lead, the liquor sales will probably go up, and everyone will start cheering, and the Americans will get a little bit nastier. Those are the times when you just wish Patrick Reed was on the team again, so you could get him to light the fuse. But if it gets out of hand, then Sunday is going to be sort of a little bit disappointing. Not like that the Solheim Cup. The women were down 4-0 after one. We came back. We had a really good Sunday with 14 all tie. But you hope it's at least close. At least there's a fighting chance for something to happen on Sunday.
Absolutely. I think you speak for everyone, including those that bet on Europe. You can still win and have some fun on Sunday. That's probably ideal. Enjoy it, Bob, and we appreciate you finding time for us. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bob Weeks, our TSN Golf analyst and insider, as Europe is laying a day one beating. Only day one, but a day one beating on the U.S.
You know what's going to be interesting here? Like, if the Europeans continue this and they pump the Americans, like, where do the Americans go from here? Do they start reevaluating how they kind of pick this team and who's involved? And maybe do they give a little more consideration to some of the live guys? That was a talking point. Like, DJ's been a good player. Bryson could probably help this team, but it wasn't even an option for them.
No, it's true. And you look back on where they were a couple of years ago, Whistling Straits, where the shoe was on the other foot. They just dummied Europe. It was almost embarrassing. It wasn't even close. And now it really feels like it's flipped. And that's credit to Europe, because it felt like it was going to be Americans dominating for a long time, right? And then Liv hit, DJ left, DeChambeau left, Finau's not on this team.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Hovland shows up playing the way he's playing. You got McIlroy, you got Rahm, you got Fitzpatrick, who's been outstanding the last couple of years. Tommy Fleetwood's
putter,
been great.
Fitzpatrick's putter is outrageous. And I think it just goes to show you, like, with the American team, there's a lot of name value behind a lot of those guys. Like, you guys do your picks every Wednesday in the summer, right? And it seems like a lot of those names, whether it's Morikawa or Schauffele, those seem to come up pretty early. But, like, Seb Straka, that's not a name coming up. Justin Rose is not a name that's coming up very early, but these are the guys kind of getting it done for Europe in pretty critical moments in a golf tournament.
Absolutely.
I don't know, man. And that Zach Johnson stuff, you can tell that he didn't really come up in team sports, hey? Like, a lot of these guys, they're individual sport guys, and then they start talking. It's all the excuses and, kind of weird with the team talk. It just goes to show you the difference between the two.
Well, it's really tough because as the captain, again, it felt like Luke Donald was going to get screwed over more because of Liv, with the older guys like Sergio leaving and Westwood leaving and Poulter and all of these legends of the European Ryder Cup that. Really, those guys were aged out anyway. It was probably the best thing that could happen. Don't allow Luke Donald to say, I'll throw a bone to my buddy. Sergio's been great. I'll bring him in. Screw that. Bring this Alberg kid in. He's even better.
Oh, man. His golf
don't bring Lee Westwood in.
Yeah.
Mail In Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, the best place for any family meal. Today and tomorrow are your last chance And for the month of September, kids will eat free. So you got a couple of days here. Kids eat free with minimum purchase when you dine in. So grab the kids, hustle in your local BP tonight. This will be a perfect weekend for Boston Pizza with the Jays going, the Leafs playing tonight, tomorrow. You got NFL action, CFL action. The Argos are playing. The definition of a Boston Pizza weekend. So you got to get in there. We'll get to our best bets still to come. And, again, these Travis Kelce props, there's a lot of them up on FanDuel. We'll break down a few next, and we'll see maybe where we're leaning, Frankie. I wonder why we're so focused on Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Why would we possibly be so focused? I think the whole world seems to be. So why not us? We'll jump on that bandwagon too. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. We got a parlay for Sunday. Jags money line. They got to get off the snide here. They got to beat Atlanta in London, okay? Jags money line over Broncos Bears. All right, it's a pretty big number, but these are two of the worst defenses we've ever seen. I think Russ actually cooks a little bit. Justin Fields cooks a little bit. Over in that game, Chiefs money line. That parlay is paying plus 277. Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Same game parlays this NFL season now include passing touchdowns and receptions on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 19 plus and physically located in Ontario. Speaking of that Chiefs game, all right, so there's some Travis Kelce props. Travis Kelce to have the most receiving yards in the game is plus 160. I think I'd hammer that. I think I would. Like I like Garrett Wilson for the Jets, but I don't see Zach Wilson throwing him the ball enough. And I don't really see another number one option for KC. I think Kelce, as he gets healthier, goes off. There's a bunch of them up here. Chiefs to have 150-plus total rushing yards. Don't love that one. Travis Kelce, last TD score. It's possible, although if it's a blowout, I don't know how much they're going to him. This is one. Travis Kelce to score 3+ touchdowns is paying plus 2,500.
Oh, he's not getting three
touchdowns. 3+ for Taylor Swift. Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
Thank you, JP.
On FanDuel. Anything's possible.
Jets still have a good defense.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They do. They do, Frankie. You're not wrong on that. Okay, do you want to hear our picks? Because we didn't get – like, this is how I think ugly it's getting for Owen Wilson. They don't even want to make picks.
They don't want to face the music, man.
Luke is shell-shocked. He's shell-shocked.
Cowardly. I'm not going to lie. It's a little cowardly.
Yeah, Luke doesn't want to come on and put his name on it. And O decided he's got to leave for the panel, and he was like, I don't want to make the picks. You can read them out. All right? They are on the Jags -3. They have the London game at 9:30. They are taking the Jags. I actually think that's a pretty good play. I have the 1 p.m. game. I'm going to lay the points and take the Bills. I know it sounds crazy. Miami has been the best team in football, but I think the Buffalo Bills show up. I don't want to bet the total in that game either. It just feels like it's going to be a playoff atmosphere, a close game. Josh Allen has a history of beating up on Miami. Yeah. Miami's traveled a lot. L.A., Boston, back to Miami, up to Buffalo. Since that week 1, Buffalo's really redeemed themselves. I think it's a statement for the Bills this week. I will take the Bills. They have the Patriots +6.5 against the Dallas Cowboys. They're taking the points, Pats at Dallas.
No, right? I hate that.
I don't love that either. I think Dallas, they have to respond after last week. They got
after Arizona, they are going to dummy the Patriots. Could be 14 points.
I wouldn't be shocked either. And then I'm on Chiefs, Jets. I will lay the points with the Chiefs. I've been playing a lot of favorites. Just they happen to be the games that we're picking, but they've been cashing. Right? Like I played the favorite Lions last night. I've played the favorites in the past with big numbers, including the Chiefs last week.
Is anyone accusing you and the Grappler of collusion by giving you easy games?
Never.
No one's done that?
Never. I'm getting the toughest games. These guys have been getting layups all year, and I'm still absolutely grinding it out. I'm 5-3-2, I think, or 5-3-1 on my picks.
Oh, you're seeing it. You're seeing it. I hope you see it again this weekend.
Me too. We need it. We need it. So there it is. Those are the picks on the record. Hayes and Company versus Owen Wilson. All right, Frankie, thanks for doing this, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great seeing you, as always. Yeah. He is Frankie Corrado. Thank you to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate that. Everyone for tuning in today. Radio, TV, podcast, web. What a weekend it could be in Toronto. The Jays are looking to clinch. You got the Leafs in action. You got the Argos rocking. Enjoy yourselves. We're out of here. Enjoy your weekends. Enjoy your games. We're back Monday at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.